We are going to learn a few essays, writing a few essays together, and we are going to discuss a technique of writing wherein we directly address the question without wasting too much time. Like, for example, here the topic is unemployment remains the biggest challenge for school leavers in most of the countries. How far do you agree with this statement? What other challenges are faced by young people today? So the question is about employment of the students who leave schools, and we can see that there is a comparative term mentioned here, which says that it is the biggest challenge for school leavers. So is unemployment the biggest challenge? If I ask myself, I don't think unemployment is the biggest challenge for school leavers. And the question says, how far do you agree with this statement? So do I really agree with this statement? So I don't agree with this statement. And they're asking what other challenges are faced by young people today. So we can draft our essay saying that we agree or we do not agree or we partially agree, and we can give reasons for it. So let's jump straight into the answer. The way I have planned this essay is that we can talk about other problems faced by school leavers, like choosing a career or dealing with competition or fixing priorities. And we can make three paragraphs on these three issues, and like this, we can address the question. As it is generally, the structure that we follow is that we start with an introduction. An introduction is supposed to be very precise, restating the problem, and also telling a little tilt or telling your side of story, telling your agenda or the argument or the side of argument that you support, and then you are supposed to write paragraphs to substantiate your ideas and arguments. So the introduction says unemployment is definitely a big social problem which needs immediate attention. However, labeling it as the biggest problem for school leavers seems quite out of place. Seems quite out of place. It should be seems quite out of place. Means seems quite illogical. Out of place is like, something which is not logical. It's an idiomatic way of saying that we cannot really label the problem of unemployment, or we cannot talk about unemployment with respect to school students. It is definitely a problem, but not for the school goers. This essay will try to highlight some other equally important problems faced by school leavers. All right. So the introduction, as you can see, is just three sentences, and it restates the problem. It acknowledges the fact that unemployment is a big problem, but not for school leavers. And so it is said that labeling it as as the biggest problem for school leavers seems quite out of place. Out of place is like illogical. So it's a little idiomatic usage, and then we are kind of inviting for further discussion by using this statement. This essay will try to highlight some other equally important. So we are telling the agenda that we are going to talk about some other equally important problems faced by school leavers. And one by one, we have discussed three problems here. I have noted down the essay in the comments, so you can read the comments to get an idea of what we are trying to project. And let me just quickly go through the sentence structure and the paragraphs here. So we are directly talking about the three problems faced by the students, and that's how we are trying to highlight that the other problems are equally important. One big problem faced by school leavers is choosing the right subjects to study in college. Most of the students find it. So we are now making an agenda of choosing the subject, and this is the theme sentence. As we know, the first sentence of a paragraph is supposed to be the theme sentence. So the theme is to choose the right career. Then we say most of the students find it very perplexing to zero down upon the stream of their choice. I still remember how. So see, we follow the structure of point, example, and explanation. We give a point, then we give an example and explanation, or we can call it as TEE, theme, example, explanation. The theme is right subjects, and then we are talking about its example. I still remember how confused I was about choosing the subjects to study in my college. Everyone came up with their own suggestions and logics to opt for the courses of their likings. It should be likings. As a teenager, it was quite frustrating for me to justify my choice. I was actually very scared to convince my elders as they labeled me rude and obstinate if I did not listen to them. So a little bit of words like obstinate. Obstinate is unmoving or inconsiderate, like that. So yeah, so taking a little bit of vocabulary here. But then more important is that we are talking about just one thing, or we are just talking about one particular point here in this paragraph, and that makes it very easy to understand. Then comes the second paragraph where we say that the second problem school leavers face is peer pressure. So here we are talking about one more issue, which is peer pressure and competition. It is quite common for parents to compare their children with their siblings, cousins, and other children in the society. For a young adult, it gets quite depressing to deal with such situations. Many of them develop various psychological problems as a result of such comparisons. So we have highlighted one more problem. So we are saying that, see, apart from unemployment, these are the problems which a school leaver faces, and that is why calling unemployment as the biggest problem does not make sense. Lastly, school leavers also find it difficult to manage their time and fix priorities, given that a young adult does not want to be left out from any arena. It becomes difficult for him to choose between studies and socializing. So this is one more issue we have highlighted. Sometimes they end up taking drugs or catch other bad habits if they do not get the right support. So basically, we are trying to highlight the problem of not being emotionally matured and not being able to take the right decision, not able to fix their priorities, what to do in life. So kind of a little bit of hyperbole where we are talking about something which is like an extreme situation here, and that's why we are qualifying it as sometimes, some of them, we can call it like that. To conclude, given that there are other big challenges faced by teenagers, it would not be pragmatic to say that unemployment is the biggest issue faced by them. So, if you look at this essay, the beauty of this writing or this piece of essay is that it's very straightforward. It addresses the problem very, very clearly, and there is a mix of long and short sentences plus a few good words sprinkled here and there. So you're not supposed to use some very difficult or unusual vocabulary. You don't have to really bother about that too much. But yes, a collection of good words here and there, plus being very direct. It is very important to answer the question very directly. Hit the bullseye. Address the question very, very directly. So if I ask myself, is this question answered? Unemployment remains the biggest challenge. Is it really the biggest challenge for school leavers? Well, for college leavers or for postgraduates, it is fine, but not for school leavers. So what we are saying, I mean, this is our own interpretation. In some countries, school leavers means like college leavers are also called as, like, you are finishing your school. Finishing schooling is like finishing college also. So, but then we can make our own interpretations here. I am calling school leavers means by the definition of school leavers itself, the ones who are finishing the 12th class. And yeah, as I discussed, maintaining, um, I mean, writing in a very crisp way is important. Let's see how many words we have written. We are supposed to write 250 words in the IELTS essay, and this one is almost how many? 287 words, which is enough to write in the given time. Thank you so much.